Calgary Flames fans, it's time for Flames Unfiltered. Entertaining and controversial hockey talk with your host, Brad Burud. 100% effort, strong defense, consistent play, scoring first. Damn, I like these new Flames. Good evening and welcome to Flames Unfiltered, episode 93. I am the host of the show, Brad Burud. And yeah, how much can a week change the attitude, thoughts, and everything in Calgary? Crazy. The new Flames, 100% effort. You know, I used to liken the old Flames to my kid's Pee-wee team when he was in Pee-wee. It was like you'd go to the rink or you'd drive, 8 hours up to Saskatoon and you'd be like, oh, what team are we going to see tonight? Who's going to show up? Who wants to play hard? Who's worried about swimming after the hockey game? And you had all those worries. And this first part of this season, when I sat down to watch a Flames game, all those same thoughts of when my kid was in Pee-wees came into my head. And that shouldn't be with a pro team. And now I sit down and I'm like thinking about the game, the systems, like who's going to produce first tonight. Are we going to, I'm thinking about positive things and not so much, are we going to get an effort tonight? And that's a breath of fresh air. And that's thanks to the new coach, Daryl Sutter. It's a lot more fun to watch games. Watching games when there's no hope is no fun. And we were there a couple weeks ago and we talked about it on the show about how that is, and how the road is so difficult and not fun when you're not winning, and how winning cures everything and gives that excitement. So when you look at the schedule and you're like, hey, Wednesday night, a big game, and you're excited to watch it. And that's why we like hockey, right? Isn't that why we get excited for the game? And that's what we want, is that excitement and that fun, and that comes with winning. Big show today. Kind of a long show today. Buckle up. It's going to be a little while. Who said that? Well, Rittich said about Sutter. I'm saying it about this show because I'm telling you what, it gets intense. We'll start off by touching base on some scores from that Montreal series and talking about night one in the Battle of Alberta, which was Monday night. Then we will talk about the Sutter Effect, what has changed since Daryl has stepped in behind the bench. And then things get out of control, wild and crazy, as I joined the Oil Country podcast last Sunday night. So just a couple days ago, right before that Monday night Battle of Alberta that we won. And I discussed the North Division, the current Flame situation. I had to fight off 3 rabid, crazy, delusional Oilers fans, as we talked about Mtl Cgy. We talked about goaltending. We talked about the Flames goaltending, the Oilers goaltending, salary cap depth. We will on, and we have a great North Division roundtable. And we also touch on this year's Battle of Alberta. We'll wrap this show up with some Flames news, a look at the standings, a quick listener question about David Rittich. It is a big, it is a long, it is a jam-packed edition of Flames Unfiltered. All right, Flames fans, let's talk a little bit about the 2-game series when Montreal came to the Saddle Dome and touch on a little bit of Monday night's Battle of Alberta, as we're smack dab in the middle of a 2-game Battle of Alberta set at the Saddle Dome. Also, let's roll back the time a little bit. March 11th, last Thursday night, Calgary, first time Daryl Sutter is behind the bench of the Calgary Flames, And it is a win. Yes, 2-1 win. Big win over Montreal. System played great. Followed up on Saturday night with probably, I don't know, maybe a better performance. Both those first two were good performances. Another 3-1 win for the Calgary Flames. And then last night, Monday night, Edmonton Oilers come to town. The anticipation, Sutter behind the bench. First Battle of Alberta. We've had with that for a long, long time. Calgary comes out on top 4-3 on a night where I thought it was a pretty darn good effort. I don't think we were quite as tight defensively as Montreal, but Montreal doesn't have the firepower that the Edmonton Oilers do. All in all, I thought a very, very good game, a well-played game by the Flames, good enough to get 2 points, and that's what's important. So that's 3 straight. I can't name you the last time we won 3 straight, and 6 key points that we didn't give our opponents any. Against 2 opponents we're chasing. Now that battle continues tomorrow night. As this gets released, it'll actually get released tomorrow same time. So depending on when you're listening to this, round 2 of this series of the Battle of Alberta goes Wednesday night. One thing to talk about in that Battle of Alberta Monday night is the hit on Shillington. Cgy Tor took a run at Shillington. No word on supplemental discipline. I did not think that it would be supplemental discipline, even though it was a direct shot to the head and a blatant direct shot to the head. Cgy Tor had to answer the bell with Ritchie later on, and Ritchie got the best of him and completely KO'd him. I was thinking about it today. Tyson Barrie went out with an injury in that game. We'll see if he's back. He's day to day. So they've lost Turris on a huge hit by Tanev. They've lost Barrie. They've lost Cgy Tor on a knockout punch. Edmonton Oilers not physically handling the Battle of Alberta real good this year. All right, time to roll into the Sutter Effect. It's been 3 games. 3-0 since he stepped behind the bench. But pump the brakes. People in Calgary are going crazy, crazy wild right now. And I love what I've seen so far. We've seen accountability. We've seen hard work. We've seen systems being played the way they need to be played. People on the team caring about what they're doing and how it affects the rest of the team. And fear. I guess fear is, it's okay to say fear, but that's what Daryl Sutter puts in. For the most part, I feel like most players have responded pretty darn well. Under Daryl Sutter, the Flames have led 125.58 minutes and been tied 54.02 and have never trailed. The Flames have not trailed since Daryl Sutter got behind the bench. Now that's going to change one of these nights, but that's a pretty darn good run. Accountability is probably the number one reason that this has happened. Line stability is big. We've been running with Tkachuk, Lindholm, Dubé, Gaudreau, Monahan, Ritchie, Lucic, Backlund, Mangiapane, Bennett, Ryan, Levo, Gio and Anderson, Hanifin, Tanev, Valimaki, Shillington, Markstrom, and net. For the most part, all cogs have been running pretty darn good. Some better than others at certain times. But as a whole, we're seeing something that we haven't seen all year. We're seeing consistency. Damn, does it feel good to finally see consistency. Another thing that came out in the Calgary media this week was in response to a Fan 960, I believe it was Pat Steinberg, asked Daryl Sutter the question about why he came to Calgary. And this put a huge smile on my face. His response was, I'm not interested in coaching 31 teams. I'm not interested in coaching just to coach. I'm coaching strictly to win a Stanley Cup, and that's it, nothing else. If that comment alone doesn't make you a Daryl Sutter fan, I have no idea what will. I'm not jumping the gun. It's 3 games. But I will say this. I feel way more comfortable about our chances in the playoffs. I feel way more comfortable about the possibility of a playoff run. I am not by any means talking Stanley Cup right now. I am talking about the system we're playing. And if we continue to play and take care of business like we have in our first 3 games with Daryl Sutter, this team will make the playoffs, albeit it will be difficult with where we sit in the standings right now. But all systems are go, things are good, and damn, it's really good to see Daryl Sutter behind the bench again. All right, Flames fans, it's time to get a little bit wild and crazy. Last Sunday night, before the Battle of Alberta of Monday night, I sat down with the guys from Oil Country Podcast. I know you've heard them on our show before. It's always an interesting, often intense conversation about Flames and Oilers hockey. I joined their show, and here is that interview, and we run down some Daryl Sutter talk, current state of the Flames. I defend a barrage of criticism and 3 guys at my throats about Mtl Cgy. We talk about goaltending situations, where our teams lack, where our teams are good, and of course, the Battle of Alberta. Enjoy this conversation with the boys from the Oil Country Podcast.
Getting going here, I wanted to spin it over to you, Brad. So what was your initial impression when Sutter replaced Ward?
You know, the whole thing was crazy. I mean, I was wanting a coaching change for weeks because I was sick of not, and I'm not blaming this at all on Jeff Ward. I'm blaming it on he did a lot of stupid things along the way, like just the line shuffling every single night. And I mean, your job as a coach is to get your players to work. And I still put 70% of this problem on the core. And I still think that the core will change. I still believe that. I mean, I know a lot of fans are talking playoffs now and stuff, and it's like we're 2 games into this. I mean, I still think a lot will change, and we'll learn a lot this year. But I don't know. We had just beaten Ottawa 7-3. It was late night. I was listening to the post-game show, and I looked at my Twitter, and I looked at it again, and I'm like, is this for real? And then I'm like, Daryl Sutter? I'm like, I was happy. I mean, you know what? Here's why I'm happy. Not because he's had a run with us in the past. I was happy because at least with Daryl Sutter, I know we'll find out about this core. That's the only thing. Like, I know we're going to find out who needs to go. Yeah. There is going to be some that need to go. And I have my choices right now. But we win or lose, make the playoffs or not make the playoffs, we're going to find out. We're going to find out.
It's funny because Mtl Cgy alluded to, we're going to find out who wants to be here or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of everyone's alluded to that. And I know when John and I found out that it took Daryl Sutter 35 minutes to start bag skating the guys in his first practice.
That was not a bag skate, though.
I know it wasn't, but it was just like the imagery of it, of just him standing there blowing the whistle and the guys are going down and back 30 minutes in. It's just hilarious. Oh, absolutely it is. But it's just funny because he's known as a hard ass, and the first image you see is 30 minutes into his return, he's skating the guys. It's just the imagery there is funny. And I think that there's going to be a number of guys who thrive under him. Like, I think Sam Bennett is actually going to start to rip it up with Daryl Sutter there. And that's what kind of scares me from an outsider's perspective. And I think Monahan and Gaudreau might, I don't know. Gaudreau, I don't see the fit as well, but what do you think on that? No?
I don't see it at all with Gaudreau. I don't know why. I really see it with Sam Bennett. You guys might be shocked on this. For some reason, and I've been extremely critical of Monahan this year, and he's was my favorite Flame until he pissed me off for the last 2 years. But I think for some crazy reason that this might actually help him. Now, but if we go into this believing that he's a number one center, it's not Monahan's fault. We're the dumb ones then, because Monahan's not a number one center. We can't just keep telling ourselves he's a number one center, but he's not producing like a number one center. Well, Jesus, that's because he's not a number one center. Now, Gaudreau, I think there's going to be trouble there. Like, I just don't know how long. First of all, I don't think Gaudreau was going to stay in the first place. Now, I really don't think he's going to stay, and I'm okay with that.
How much longer does he have on his contract?
I would be too. If I was you, I would be too, because Johnny Hockey just, he does a lot of things well, but playoff hockey is something he doesn't do well.
Oh.
And why would you want to invest in that guy? You've seen what he is, you know what he is, and he's great as a depth guy. I think Calgary is kind of in this weird limbo position, though, where they're missing, you said it yourself, that number one center or that definitive superstar guy that they can build around. And I don't know if Monahan's necessarily that guy at any point in his career, no matter when he develops. So what are you guys gonna do? Keep trying to like force feed this with Markstrom and just finish and get the like 10th to 13th draft pick every year?
No. I think, and I know this will be anti-Oilerish, but I mean, you guys
shocking.
Okay, but you guys have died on the fact that you have two stars and nobody around them.
For now we do time, yes, yeah.
You're better this year, yes. But the last 3 years, I mean, sure. you were the exact opposite of us, and neither one of us were getting anywhere with it.
Yeah. I
mean, you guys had two stars with a ton of money tied up into them and a bunch of thugs around them that can't play, and you guys were mirrored in the middle again too.
And now, the argument I'd make is that a center is a harder position to fill than a winger, which is what our defaults was. Although you guys definitely found your goaltending situation, which we are still in the midst of figuring out what we're doing.
Although you've been fine, okay. We've
been okay, but for our future, we don't have a long-term goaltending solution. So, and that's definitely been one of Calgary's cruxes for 15 years now, right? So,
yeah. But I just think, okay, we saw it on night one with Daryl Sutter. And if you look back at the old Kings teams, go look at the minutes of the Kings teams when they won the cup. Their fourth line averaged 8 to 14 or 8 to 11 minutes a night. That's what we're going to see in Calgary. I'm sorry. We're going to see four lines, and we may not, we should see that because we don't have that star that needs to get, an abundance of ice time. And look at the last two games. And I'm not one of these guys. I listened to the radio last night on 960, and we had people talking about not the Stanley Cup, thank God, but we had people saying they're going to make the playoffs for sure. And I'm like, oh, wait a second here. This is 2 games into it. Now, as much as I'm completely thrilled with those 2 games, this is going to be a long road. But with depth in this North, that's going to help.
When you get a new coach in, a lot of that time, you get that bump for like 10 games. For sure. So I want to see what this team looks like 2 weeks in, 4 weeks in, 6 weeks in.
Me too.
And then I might start believing a little bit more.
Me too. No, I'm not over believing. Believe me.
I mean, I personally think that Calgary has a lot of talent on it still. I know, obviously, I've seen your fan base talk a bunch about switching out their core because they haven't been performing, and there probably is issues in that locker room that have come up because of it. But with bringing in Daryl Sutter, like historically, Calgary, since he's been gone, has been a kind of 500 team until Bill Peters came in there. And I'm pretty sure he was like 60 some wins to 30 losses. And unfortunately, he had to be a terrible person and get ousted from the league. But like a real coach coming back to Calgary, I mean, I'm worried as an Oilers fan. That team could pull it together and still click.
Look at this though. Look at Calgary. Look at how many coaches we went through. Now tell me the coaches that we had when we were actually producing decent win-loss ratios. Bob Hartley, Bill Peters to some extent, and then all the way back to Daryl Sutter. Yeah. Well, what do those 3 coaches have in common?
They're all defensive minded. They're all tough guy oriented.
Exactly. Now, who did we not thrive under? Gulletson, because he's a softie, wanted to be buddies with the players. Jeff Ward, because he's a softie and he wanted to be buddy with the players.
You
also
might
had
need
a
that
lot-
motivation.
You had a lot different makeup of a roster in those days too. Like you had a younger Giordano and a Dougie Hamilton and a
I'm glad
TJ
Dougie
Brody.
Hamilton's gone. And TJ
I mean-
Brody was not good either.
I mean, he's looking pretty good these days. So is
Did you
Dougie
see him
Hamilton.
tonight? Did you see him tonight?
Yeah,
No,
but I mean,
I
we
saw
could talk
Toronto
about the
lost
Flames
Ottawa.
any other night too, right? Like season based wise.
I'm with you. I'm
Yeah.
with you on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody says that, there's problems in the locker room, and none of us really know because we're not in there. But I do believe that I think there's a difference in hockey players. I think there's a difference in players that'll get you to the playoffs, and then there's players that'll get you to the cup. And there's two things with Gaudreau. He's up for a contract at the end of next year. He's going to expect a pay raise. How in the hell would you ever justify a pay raise?
Especially considering it's coming in COVID era too. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't.
So it's
Gaudreau,
not going to work.
It blows my mind because I honestly don't know what Gaudreau's value is on the trade market either.
I don't think it's much.
I don't
I
think
mean,
it
I
is
don't want to
either.
say much. I don't think it's as high as everybody thinks it is.
Like,
I
don't get
think
me
the
wrong.
jury's
he's a
out on
talented
him. I don't
player.
think anyone's going to pay for an undersized guy like that who doesn't perform on the bigger games. So like
Somebody
when
will
it comes to
pay
that,
him.
like buy sell trade deadline, no one's going to put money on him because they know he's going to just disappear in the playoffs. Why would you invest in that halfway through the year or moving forward?
But you know what, though, you guys sign stupid contracts every day. Matt Murray got $6+ million. Jordan Binnington just signed for $6 million. Like,
Yeah.
Those guys have Stanley Cup rings.
Yeah, but I mean, they've
I don't care.
also
Matt Murray's
struggled, man.
handling.
It doesn't matter, it's still your
He sucked
performance,
for
yeah.
4 years now, or 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not defending Matt Murray here. I didn't think he was that good in Pittsburgh. I think they made the wrong decision between him and Fleury. But he still has 2 Stanley Cup rings, and Jordan Binnington still has a Stanley Cup ring, and his save percentage isn't bad. You can't. I just don't like the point at Jordan Binnington and these guys are overpaid because they're
Okay,
they're
so
not.
you want me to
Like,
relate it to like Cassian then? Would that make it easier?
I mean, Zach Cassian making $3 million is not a ghastly overpay. So,
do we need to talk Neil and Lucic then, or do we put this?
oh,
in the...
those are some overpays. Now we're on the right level. Here we go.
All right. I just wanted to make sure we had to get this straight here.
You gotta. There's a line. Mika Koskinen's close to that line too. A bit of an overpay, but
Hey, we all got him. Every one of us, every team's got him.
I mean,
I'm just happy that our overpay is easily removable at the end of the year, where you guys are forced to protect yours in the expansion draft and
I'm
deal with
not
that
joking.
for 3 more
Hey.
years.
You guys know me well enough that I've been extremely critical of Lucic, but I'm also smart enough to see that in the last month he's been one of our best players.
you know, the thing about the Lucic thing with the
Yes.
expansion draft is too, I think he's gonna waive. I don't think they're gonna have to protect him.
I don't know.
Why wouldn't he?
You
Do they
guys
do the
know-
7-3? They'll probably do the 7-3 and protect him anyways, just based off the roster buildup.
I mean, depends what happens with the personnel changes over the next 4 months, but honestly, I
It'll
don't
be
think they need to
either
protect
it'll be
him.
Bennett or him gone,
It'll be Bennett or him.
and I would bet money on Bennett. Depending, unless Bennett like completely, crazily, does super well under Sutter, and this team goes to the playoffs, and Bennett's a key part of it. Then obviously, then they'll figure out a way to protect him. But, one thing when you look back at Lucic last year, I remember in the beginning of the year last year when he had a really, really bad stretch.
Yeah.
And he was getting not just crucified by the media, but I mean, he was like literally, you could see on the ice, like he was
It was
like,
getting to him.
struggling,
Yeah.
like struggling.
So, like his entire time in
He-
Edmonton, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. Yes. Good point. He actually said in an interview he contemplated retirement, and that made me go, "Holy crap!" Like, so this year when he started off the season, I thought he looked like a bad beer leaguer for the first 3 weeks of the year. Like, I was like, "This is worse than last year," and then things kind of started to turn around. And honestly, the last month, I can't even think of a night where I've been like, oh God, he's out there again. Like and I can't believe I'm saying that because I'm ultra critical of him, but I've been fine the last couple of weeks. Now, is he still overpaid grossly, terribly? But there's nothing we can do about that now. Like there's just,
I always really liked Lucic as a person too. Like he seems amazing off the ice, and I never hated him for that contract that was given to him. And like you said, he said in that interview, I think he showed it numerous times while he was in Edmonton. Like he kind of felt apathetic that he got given that contract and he had to perform under it. Like, of course, he's happy for the money, but he was frustrated with his performance too.
You can tell.
But I know he was frustrated. He was vocal about how he was not happy with how he was performing.
There's
it
times
doesn't
where
excuse him in the contract, I guess. But I mean, like, still as a person, as a player, like I give him respect. I can't really hate him, and I would wish him success if he was on any other team other than yours. Although I'm happy you took that contract from him.
Well, I'm happy you took Neil from us because he's honestly. Don't you guys think Neil's been worse than Lucic this year?
That's not the point, though. We traded that contract for the buyout.
I know.
Neil's
I
been
know.
hurt.
I was
Neil's been hurt for a
up.
large portion of it too. So, but I mean, I'm still happy riding off that 4-goal night. After that, I was like, whatever happens, I'm okay with it.
He can
That
never
was
score
enough.
again, and I don't care.
Yeah,
You made your 36.
you made your point.
Yeah, you made your 30 mil.
That contract, I said it at the time of pretty much no matter who would have got that contract to Milan Lucic, but that thing is just going to look horrendous the last 3 years of it. And
Can it look worse than it does now? I mean, can it?
Yeah, just wait.
Wait.
This is why I don't think the Flames are in a position to really, like, outside, if they hadn't have signed Markstrom, they would have been in serious trouble record-wise now. And moving forward, they'd be in serious trouble, I think. Like, I don't see the Flames rosters being as great as some people do.
So do you think the Oilers is?
I think it's better than the Flames.
I think the thing that's interesting to me is like, Brad, I always respect you because I feel like you're a realistic Flames fan. Like, you don't get too high, you don't get too low. I feel like you tell it how it is. And I've got some Flames fans buddies that are just not like that at all. And man, they are so low right now. They're ready to like blow the whole thing up, start over. So I want to get us back on the rails here a little bit. What do you think the current state of the Flames is? Like, is this team good enough?
Good enough for what? To make the playoffs? Yes. To win a Stanley Cup?
To keep growing, to become a contender.
Well, I think you have to now. I mean, I think you look around the league and you look at all the teams, and I mean, we can all find there's nobody that looks perfect on paper. Does this team have some shortcomings? Yeah, heck yeah. We need a top 6 right winger or something fierce. Are we in cap trouble? Yeah. So are you. So is everybody. I mean, this is going to be problems league wide. So to build a perfect roster now is going to be a bitch. I mean, I don't even know if it's possible anymore to build that perfect no-hole roster anymore. The only way I see it happening, if you got a couple guys on ELCs that are just playing out of their ass. I mean, that's the ticket right now is to have guys on ELCs that are just tearing it up. And I mean, I look at Calgary's roster and, everybody says, well, maybe it's time to just completely blow it up. Well, how do you look at Markstrom and Tav and be like, hey, guess we're going to blow it up now. You've been here 3 weeks. Like, shit, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't even think that's feasible to do. Like, I don't even think it's feasible. I think if things don't go well and we don't make the playoffs this year, you're going to see the core change. And I think that's all you're going to need to see is the core change. You're definitely going to see Bennett gone. You're going to see Gaudreau gone. You could see Monahan gone too. I mean, like, I honestly believe that'll happen.
I would agree. I think you're going to see the core of Calgary change too. And I mean, like, you hit the nail on the head where it's like, how do you look at Jakob Markstrom and say, thanks for signing here, man. I'm really glad that you're looking forward to the future. We're going to go ahead and rebuild. So there's no way you can do that. The only way you would justify that is you probably trade Jakob Markstrom for assets. And I don't know why you trade number one goalie. It doesn't make sense. That'd be asinine. Yeah. But still, like, Margie Giordano is not getting any younger, so you're going to need number one defenseman right away here. You said yourself you need top 6 right wingers. You need a number 1 centerman. Mm-hmm. All of these things, as an Oilers fan, I can tell you, this doesn't fall off a tree. And if you try rebuilding on the
falling in your neighborhood, and I mean, look at how long it took. I mean,
Exactly. You know, you got to wait for a pretty big darn tree to fall. It's sometimes it's a rare German tree that falls in your lap. It's just dumb luck some days. So,
but you know what? Well, okay. So let's flip this onto the Oilers. So let's say the Oilers. I think you guys will make the playoffs. Let's say the Oilers get ousted in right away. I mean, are you guys going to rebuild? No. But it's hard to fill in. I mean, you guys are to the cap, to the maxed. What are you going to do with
now?
Yeah. Well, what? I mean, next year you're going to have a lot of holes to fill.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that as much. We still have our top 2 centers locked up. Jesse Puljujarvi is going to be under contract. Yamamoto is going to get re-signed. So we have 4 of our top 6 spots. Nugent Hopkins is a question mark for sure. But you've got Nurse, check. Bears locked up again, check. Bouchard, yep. Larson's a maybe. Barry's a maybe. Our defense has got a little bit more holes, but I would be more confident going forward with that than I would Calgary. And I know it's McDavid and Draisaitl and whatnot, but I still I don't look at Calgary needs to bring in a guy that they can build around, like a pillar to build around. So to bring that guy in, what is it, Taylor Hall? Because I've been saying maybe Taylor Hall is the guy you bring into the Oilers top 6 here. So who's the franchise centerpiece?
Taylor Hall.
I mean, you can probably get him for the cheap on this.
How are you going to keep Larson and Barry for next year? What are you guys going to do in goal?
There's no way you keep Barry. I don't think the others keep Barry.
I don't think I would if I was you, but I
don't think they do either.
You went and got him, so you must think something good about him. I mean,
I think there's a reason that's a 1-year deal, though.
We went and got him on a 1-year deal for like half priced what he's trying to get in the market, not what he's worth, but what he's trying to get. He won't re-sign here because of the right defenseman depth we have. I'd like to see them keep Adam Larson. And if you don't re-sign Nuge, there's the potential for Taylor Hall is kind of my thing, which is like to put your eggs in that basket is another argument. And I don't think I would do it. I'd still try to get Nuge done under $7 million.
Well, he was rumored to go to Calgary like crazy too. And I don't know that I want Taylor Hall because everywhere Taylor Hall's went, he's sucked.
Thank you,
you don't
Brad.
want the first overall draft pick?
No,
I don't want Taylor Hall either. Topco's got such a hard on for Taylor Hall. It's actually nuts. I don't want him whatsoever.
I don't know if I want him. Like, he's from Calgary. So we were the first rumor that he was going to go to is because he's going home to Calgary. Well, I'll take him at $3.5 million. I'm not taking him at $6 million.
If you sign Taylor Hall, then the Calgary Flames get first overall picks for the next 3 years. You don't want that?
Can we just
magic?
Can we actually talk about Taylor Hall? Like, it terrifies me that you go to Buffalo, and I know it's Buffalo, but the point production that he's putting up right now is terrifying. There's no reason someone with that amount of talent put in that situation should not be putting up at least like 0.8 points per game.
I mean, his center's been hurt for half the season.
I don't care.
I agree, but still, that team sucks. It's not like there's a lot to build on. Like, it's been
Taylor Hall was on
10 years ago, but consistently.
He was on some terrible Edmonton teams, and he still put up points.
Fair.
I think on a New Jersey team that was questionable and won the league in scoring.
The whole signing of him going to Buffalo was a head scratcher to begin with because I get you want to go to a contender and sign your 1-year deal, but it's like you're telling me you went to a contender by signing in Buffalo for
That's the thing. Like we all kind of thought he was doing the Tyson Barrie deal type route, right? Like a 1 year at a low value, and $5 million maybe isn't as much as we thought he was going to get, but yeah, Buffalo and not like Colorado
where did Hoffman
or
sign
Vegas
again?
or like where? I mean, Vegas was at Cal limit, but yeah.
Where did Hoffman end up signing again?
Yeah, he went somewhere. Shit, where did he go?
He's been in
somewhere for sure. Yeah.
Sorry?
Didn't he go to
He's
St.
been
Louis?
in no-show this year. None of us even know where Hoffman's at.
He went to St. Louis. That's what it was. But he was
How
on
many
like
of us are watching games outside of this North Division?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not. Straight up, I've watched so many North Division games.
I think I've watched 3 games.
I know. Honestly, what are the other divisions? I thought this was the NHL.
Let me ask you about that.
I don't even know if I could name the rest of the teams in the NHL anymore.
Do you guys think that's a negative?
Yes.
Abco is very against it. I like it for 1 season, but I wouldn't want to do it every
I was so pro Canadian division, and I was like, I want to do this forever before it even started. But now, like a month and a half in, I'm like, shit, I don't even know what's going on. I had to flip on. Had to watch a Panthers game the other night to be like, I got to see what this team's all about. And I had to watch it.
I checked the standings here and there, and I'm like, how the fuck is
Mike Hoffman's in St. Louis, by the way? So he signed for a cheap deal in St. Louis, which is a contender.
He signed there on a PTO.
Initially, and then he signed like a one because they had to wait for like LTIR space to open up, I believe.
But honestly, Brad, to answer your question, I was in the same boat as you off the bat. Like right from the get-go, I was like, honestly, I don't care if the Oilers ever play an American team again other than the Stanley Cup final. Like this is going to be awesome. And I'm still a little bit there, but I don't think it's good for the sport. And like we were saying, like I can count on one hand the amount of games I've watched on the other 3 divisions this year. And we're like 30 games in. So honestly, like I'd like to see, I want to see Edmonton play the Eastern Canadian teams more than twice a year. Not 6 or 7 or 8 times a year, but more than twice. And I really like that they play in series. I think it doesn't have to be every time. But if the Oilers are, like if they're flying out, or any team, they're flying out across North America, they should go there and play 2 games there, and vice versa. Now, that's my take.
Well, why can't we keep the Canadian division, but just still play outside of the division?
And I mean, I'd be fine with that. I'd love to do that. I mean, I think the downside is you don't get to beat up.
Yeah, Dobko is right. Like realistically, the reason that it's done the way it is because of travel. And like for us, we have our farm team down in California because that's where we travel the most.
You think Toronto and like Montreal want to fly within their division to like Edmonton and Calgary instead of New York and Buffalo?
You guys, how far of a flight is that? 3 hours?
4,
5 from Montreal to Calgary. Yeah, it's 7 if you're looking at Vancouver. Yeah.
What kind of airplanes are you guys flying in?
It's like it's like 4K. I literally just flew. Montreal to Calgary is like 4.5 hours. To Vancouver would be like under 5.5.
Okay,
that's legit. Not.
But you're going there for
5 hours, 45
games.
minutes when I went home.
Yeah. I don't know. I just
if you're going there for 2 games, but I wanted to just go back to the way it was before. I like that there was the rivalries. If you get to play a lot of Calgary, Vancouver, and Edmonton games where there's the natural rivalry, and it's nice. It's a little sweeter when you play Toronto and Montreal twice a year. You know, those games mean more. They bring a lot more. They're more hype and energy. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You just said it's lost its magic, and you're like, I still want it, but like kind of maybe. So like,
I want it. I would like to. I don't think playing in division is helping. Like only in division. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that's the thing.
We actually have to go against teams in the playoffs.
Being stuck with 7 other teams or 6 other teams is tough. But Brad, I'm with you. I'd like to see the North Division.
So let me ask you this: Why would you rather watch them play? And I'm a dog shit Ottawa team 4 times a year because they're based out of Canada instead of watching them play Washington or Pittsburgh more and seeing players. I don't care about where this team is geographically located. I want to see the players and the talent in the league. Who gives a shit about what city they're in?
I want to see, and I think that we would play outside the division, so we would still see Washington twice a year, once at home and once away. Instead of having more. I'd rather play
by having more of those Canadian games. You're going to inherently have less of those other games that you want to see. You just told me you want to see.
Doug, all you're doing is
less of them. With
hear me out.
But he's just changing
you want to see Ottawa 5 times and Anaheim 2, or do you want to see Anaheim 5 times and Ottawa 2?
Anaheim 5 and Ottawa 2.
Why?
Because I'd rather watch Anaheim play. I'd rather watch Ryan Getzlaf play, and I'd rather watch.
No, but it's just an example.
Cam Fowler play.
Here's the other thing,
but that could change year to year. But just act as it as a team, though. Although
Ottawa's going to get better. I'd rather brood those rivalries between the Canadian teams because they're already there.
I guarantee the televisions and Sportsnet in Canada want it that way.
That does great. They want it in Canada, but that does a poor job of growing the game between Canada and the United States. Let's separate.
It already sucks
them even more. Well, you're going to make it way worse. Why don't you try to make it better at least?
I think that's a valid point, Dobko, but I don't think it's
I agree with Dobko too. Like I think that Connor McDavid coming down to play just like Gretzky did down in California, like is a draw for fans to go there. When I went to the games in California, I'm sure when you were in Vegas, buildings were sold out, dude. Like there was not seats available when Anaheim game was a different story, but the LA game was sold out.
The other thing though is even if you do it as is and you don't go to the North Division, you're still like 2/3 of the states are still only seeing Connor twice.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like you're playing a huge amount of games in the States to begin with.
Washington,
I would agree, but when the Oilers do play in the States, and I hate it as an Oilers fans too, because they're always afternoon games, they seem to get primetime slots when McDavid is playing on the ice.
Are they
a lot more when they play in the States.
In the States, are they going to broadcast a game that's Edmonton versus Vancouver, or are they going to broadcast a game that's Anaheim versus Buffalo? Because it's American teams, they're going to broadcast the American teams.
You want to know something though? This year, I've paid attention a lot to the NHL Network in the U.S. and almost 2 or 3 nights every week, they have the Canadian division Sportsnet feed on. But twice, 2 or 3 times. What do we're going to have our fourth Battle of Alberta here on tomorrow night. 2 of the 3 have already been on. Were televised on national TV in the U.S.
Yeah, there's CFL games televised in the American.
That's such bullshit.
That doesn't mean people are watching.
That's such a bullshit comparison.
That's a cop-out.
It's not a cop-out. Tell me what the numbers are. You can broadcast it. That doesn't mean people are watching. That's a cop-out argument.
I mean,
you can broadcast a Florida Buffalo game too, and nobody's watching either. So what the hell's the difference?
I'm just asking. You just said they broadcasted it. I'm just saying, did people watch it?
I would just say that the Calgary Edmonton game would pull more draw, even if it's not like outside hockey fans. People that are interested in hockey would be happy to have somewhere to watch that series.
I tell you what,
when they wouldn't see anywhere else.
Last year's Battle of Alberta got more views in the U.S. after the Kachuk-Cassian thing than a lot of other games.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sure that blew up on YouTube, so having those games available is a different story than like the Saskatchewan Roughriders versus the BC Lions.
Nobody watches the CFL in the States.
Which, by the way, did you hear that XFL is partnering with the CFL apparently?
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, they're talking.
Very interesting to see where that
happen.
Yeah.
I'm very curious as well. That's going to be really interesting. I still think like my way of looking at like how you grow this game is if you can have insane rivalries and the best rivalries you can possibly have, it doesn't matter where people are, they're going to watch.
Yep.
And they're a lot less likely to go to the game if they can't go to it in the country they're in, which is where the money is, at the gate. So if you're trying to sell the game more, if you're a Florida team who doesn't get to see Connor McDavid in their building this year, if you're Florida who doesn't get to see Connor McDavid at all this year, that's one night of big revenue that you're out. That hurts Florida a bit. So that hurts their market. That hurts their chances of having a team. And you can say, oh, it grows the rivalry. People in Florida don't really care about hockey to begin with. They're going to care even less when the biggest rivalries are 5,000 fucking miles north.
Agreed.
So
you want to know something though? Have you guys been to a game like in Arizona or Florida? I haven't personally in Florida, but I've been to a game in Arizona. And when a Canadian team comes into an Arizona, it's 90% Canadian people there because it's cheaper. If you live in Calgary, it is cheaper to fly to Arizona and go to a game than it is to drive up the road to go to the Saddle Dome to a game.
All 3 of us.
I'm not even joking.
All 3 of us came from Canada to go watch our team play in the States last year.
And was cheaper.
So my point, Dobko, is
me, but yeah.
You're still like, I understand the thing with the rivalries, but like Florida's still seeing Edmonton twice a year. They're still seeing Toronto twice a year. They're still seeing all these players twice a year, like they normally do right now. They would just see whatever Canadian teams are in their division.
Florida doesn't get money by having their fans watch it on TV from their home because the games happen to be in Edmonton that year.
I mean, Florida's a bad example because they don't get money anyways.
With every team.
Yeah, which is what they're doing right now. What they had before was that you had your division, you play every team within your division 6 times, and you would play every single other team once in their barn and once in your barn. And that's what I liked. And you guys want to bring more Canadian games into that,
we're not.
Which means
no, we're not.
No.
This is what I'm trying to explain to you.
You just said that.
No. It's just switching the Pacific Division to the North Division. You still
want to have
so
the
all the
same
Canadian
amount of
teams play
teams
each other.
outside the division. Just we'd have the division be the North Division.
It'd just be like instead of like Edmonton playing Montreal once or twice. Like,
that doesn't make fucking sense at all.
The only reason I don't agree with it is just
idea.
The only reason I don't agree with it is the travel. Like I don't see the NHL continuing to have a travel
and then just
like
blanketing all of the guys who are Canadian teams in every Canadian market. So Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, all of the Elias Pettersson, you just blanket all of those guys up here, say, fuck you, America. You get to see a lot less of them. That doesn't grow the game. Hockey is not growing well in the United States.
Who says
wrong?
That?
So by restricting the stats,
there's more U.S.
numbers
kids playing hockey than Canadian kids.
There's more U.S. kids playing hockey than Canadian kids.
Sign up in USA Hockey now.
They have 10 times the population, so
there's more kids registered in USA Hockey than.
But yeah, I believe that, Dopko. Texas is huge. Oregon's huge. California's big in hockey. There's definitely like hot spots of hockey.
Well, shit, you look at like Minnesota.
But I 100% agree with Dopko on building the sport where it needs.
Here's the way I'll form it. Would the game of hockey have grown in California if Wayne Gretzky would have never been traded to Los Angeles?
Absolutely not.
So you're basically wanting to do that in the same kind of way.
Yeah, but you can't put up an ice cream stand in Iceland. We did that in Arizona, and they still don't go to the games, and it's been 25 freaking years.
The thing is, stop expanding and just move the team.
Well, so what are you just going to keep throwing darts at the dartboard in America and hope you hit it right, or what?
Yeah, pretty much.
We always say we want to grow the game in America. Well, we always screw the real fans to grow the game. And now Quebec City doesn't have a freaking team, but we got one in Arizona.
You guys are hating on the American, how much it's grown in hockey too, after you just said it. Like, for a turnaround to happen in a sport after it's been introduced to society is like 30 years. It has to get parents involved that then want their kids to play a sport that they take them through, to have a fan base that grows up with kids that care about it, that want their parents to keep bringing them back to the game. And chances are those kids don't even make the fucking league. It's their kids that do.
But it's grown immensely. Look at the Americans compared to Canadians in the NHL now. Look at the draft.
You're saying that it's throwing like
because we have lots of Canadian teams playing in America and lots of American teams playing in Canada.
I don't think that is.
It's growing a lot because we do that.
Question to pose to you. Did Austin Matthews start playing hockey in Arizona because Toronto came to Arizona twice a year and Edmonton came to Arizona twice a year? Or did he start playing hockey because there was players like Shane fucking Doan in Arizona?
This is a point that I wanted to make too before we broke there as well. Is like it's not just the Canadians come down there. Obviously, Gretzky had a huge impact on LA, but that's only one location in the States.
And can I interrupt really quickly here, Kyle? Sorry. Yeah. If Wayne Gretzky never gets traded to LA, doesn't matter. Like, that was when that huge growth happened. It wasn't when Edmonton was going to LA twice, 3, 4 times a year, however much they did back then. I'd have to look. Sorry to cut off. Go ahead, Kyle.
So I would say it's superstars. Sorry, just one second. I would say it's the superstar coming there because obviously that's important to bring fans in, but it's what the team does around the community as well. Where you see a lot of growth or where the team has reinvested into their community and started youth hockey programs or started even adult programs. I know it's not the team to say it, but Florida, for example, had $165 you would pay. I think it was 4 years ago. You got full equipment, you got 4 practices and 1 full game that you would play with all just amateur beginner sports.
So how did that work? Because Florida still was a complete disaster in attendance pre-COVID.
I understand that, but at least they're making attempts to try, right? Yeah. Like that's a cheap entry. You get a full outfit of hockey gear, which is 10 times the price of what you're paying for entry alone. You get 4 practices on ice, an NHL ice, and then you get a game you get to play.
My big argument is that you're going backwards by trying to bring more Canada versus Canada matchups in that sense. And that's all I'm trying to say is I don't think it's a good thing for the game of hockey going forward and building it.
It's a good thing for Canadians that are already invested. but it's not a good thing for the actual game throughout.
So let me ask you this.
If Connor gets, the one last thing I'll say is, like, if Connor gets traded to an American market, and you would get to see him way, way less under your idea.
In foreign teams, yes.
We get to see Jack Eichel less in Canada. I mean, it's
in our system, the only team that sees Connor McDavid less is the 3 California teams and Seattle when they come in. And the Central Division teams.
But I would also argue that those are some of the biggest hockey communities
for sure
in America.
Yeah.
So you want to do it to the detriment of the players' travel, then? So you want to do it at the expense of the players that are playing in Canada?
If I was going to keep the North Division, you know who really could push the button on this is Sportsnet. They're like, hey, we ponied up billions of dollars to your league. This is what we want for our ratings, and so be it. Because let me ask you this question. Right now, we just said it earlier before this whole rant started about divisions. We said as a group that we haven't been paying attention to divisions outside the North this year. So let me ask you this. In the States, do you think they're caring about us right now? But hockey's going along just fine in the States.
So, and then by having these markets like Arizona and Florida that are already struggling, and you don't get the Canadians coming in to watch games and boost their gate and boost their revenue, you're going to lose teams. So you're going to have less guys who can play in the NHL because you have less teams. Now, because you have less teams, maybe the teams get a little bit better, but there's going to be less interest because there's less markets, because there's less teams. So that is just going to keep happening in the States because hockey isn't exactly skyrocketing down there. And you're just going to slowly see it drop.
They just signed the largest television contract they've ever had.
I think that's such an extreme example, though, Dobko.
But that's a step in the right direction. That shows what the NHL has been doing is the right move, right? Like, this last year can't be an outlier. I agree with Dobko. I'm sorry, but
you better be, Kyle.
Man, I don't know. Like, we already talked about, we're kind of getting bored of the Canadian division, and just more games being played there. I don't agree with. And just sorry to go on that. As a division in the Pacific alone, I already hated how many times we played Anaheim and LA and San Jose. I get annoyed when I only see Edmonton play in Montreal once. If you're just going to open up the travel with your idea, fuck it, let them play everywhere.
So do
play
we,
3 games a team each.
Do we hate the North Division, or do we hate that we're only allowed to play 6 teams? I think that's what we hate.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I hate more that it's a division-based system and that you're only playing the same team. I think we hate that it's 4 games against Ottawa this week and 4 games against, I think that's what it's becoming, a grind. I think if we had the North Division, but we played obviously outside the North Division, and you play a game in Washington and they come to Calgary, then, do you think that Sportsnet would be okay with that too, just as a counter argument as well? If you're going to have more Canadian teams in a division, you're going to have more Canadian teams that are not making the playoffs.
It also becomes a little harder
also
to
guarantees Canadian teams in the playoffs, and that's been a problem a lot in the last decade.
How many years have we had less than 4 Canadian teams?
But you're literally offing half of them no matter what.
It's harder to develop rivalries when you play those teams less. So if you're going to play the California teams 4 times, then another group of teams 3 times, it's going to be harder to build those rivalries. So by playing the Anaheim and the San Jose 6 times, it does build that hatred, that animosity, and those storylines a bit too. So, I think, like I said, the way they had it before, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You play within your division, you play those teams 6 times, you play outside your division, you play each of those teams 1 time in each barn. You call it a day. Let's not overcomplicate this because Canadians want to watch a geographically located team play another geographically located team rather than the guys on the ice. Because the second the puck is dropped, I don't see the Toronto Maple Leafs. I see a blue jersey. I don't care where they're from.
I think you're in the minority there, Dobko.
Big time, because tomorrow night when
the intelligent minority.
Do you care if it's a red jersey or they're from Calgary?
I like how you I just got to point this out. You're talking about how it's dumb to do geographically located divisions. That you don't care about the geography of it. Well then, why doesn't Calgary go in a different division? You know what? I want Edmonton to play Calgary twice a year because it'll be more special that way. And I want to play Florida 8 times. Let's go in their division.
Well, that just makes no fucking sense for travel at all, John. So you're just stupid.
Okay. So maybe Calgary should go with Winnipeg, and then Edmonton can play other games against San Jose because those games are freaking fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say the rivalry against the California teams. I could give a fuck about the rivalry against the California teams straight up. Other than Anaheim when they beat us in the playoffs, I really don't care about them that much at all. And we
Like, have you guys ever looked at your TV thing and been like, hell yeah, tonight we got the Yotes?
No.
Yeah.
No, in fact, in their history, we've sucked
Points
against
night.
them, so absolutely not. Yeah.
A points night? Who doesn't love a good points night? After the first period, if we're not up 3-0, you can just change the channel. Who gives a shit? I love watching them play the shitty teams.
No,
you tell me you don't want to watch Calgary boot fuck Detroit one of these nights? Like, that'd be great for them to come down, slap Detroit
because
around.
we never beat those teams. We always struggle against the crappy teams, and we end up beating the good teams. I don't understand it, man.
Yeah, Edmonton's done that a lot over the years too. Fucking baffles me. Okay, let's get a little bit back on track. I love how that started from such an innocent. What do you guys think about the North Division from Brad? 25 minutes later, like at each other's fucking throats, just going off about this.
Can I actually ask something? Because I wanted to transition earlier, but I just was waiting for a moment.
Absolutely.
Brad in the last meeting we had there, he opened up with a really important point when he was talking about a team makeup and about how teams nowadays have to really rely on ELC players performing. And both of our teams haven't really had the best drafting the past 15, 20 years even.
30 years.
I mean, like our team has had a little bit better success the past couple of years. Anybody who's listened to our podcast, knows who our players are that are coming up. We have Lavoie, Benson, Holloway, whatever, McLeod, Brody, Kanolov, and Net. For you as a Calgary aficionado fan, who is your farm team? Like, is there someone that we should be worried about coming up there, or are you kind of barren on the cupboards?
I like Edm Cgy. I think we'll see him this year. He's third in points in the American Hockey League right now. He's played 5 less games. I don't know. I've liked him. Do I think our cupboards are full? Hell no. I don't like right now. I don't like our prospect system. I don't think we're bad, but I mean, on the back end, I like Connor Mackey. I think he's gonna be a player for the Flames. I think he's going to be a good, solid defenseman. Dustin Wolf, I'm not really worried about our goaltenders right now. We got Markstrom for 6 years. Like, Dustin Wolf he's either going to be like really good or just fizzle away. Like,
I feel that's been every one of Calgary's prospects in goaltending the last 10
Isn't
years.
that for most teams though?
I agree, but I think Calgary's
agree.
actually had one of the top amount of first round picks spent on goalies the last 20 years.
I think that's fairly common. I think goaltending
it's like
so different. Goaltending is so different than any other position. It's almost like freaking pull tabs. I mean, it's like all of a sudden you get lucky. And whether it's a first or a 7th rounder, I believe it's just a little bit more of a crapshoot. I think goaltenders are harder to scout until they're up facing different competition and different shots. I think it's just a trickier scouting game. Up front,
goalies are voodoo. We don't need to sell to you. Like,
we say it on
the greatest goalie in the Flames franchise history was a backup in San Jose who just became an absolute stud for a decade in Calgary.
Right?
So, like,
I mean, isn't that what it is though? That's what I'm saying. Like, you throw somebody into an opportunity in net, and you just don't know. Like, he could take off and be the greatest thing ever, and it could turn into a pile of dog shit. You just don't know.
That's the great thing about having a guy that's more or less a sure thing in Markstrom. And not to toot you guys your horn a little bit, but I'm envious of it, because now you have 5-6 years where you're like, okay, if we can get one of these random guys to just pan out, we're fine. And if not, we're good until then. And then we'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. That's the great thing about having a legit number 1 goalie.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing we're missing that center we talked about. We're missing that right side, right wing. But I don't know how you can overlook the importance that we have the goalie, where that's one of the thing in a year, you guys are going to be like, what the hell are we going to do this summer now?
Well, yeah, we've been doing that for 3 years.
I was not happy.
You know? I know I was going to call you Kyle, but
it fucking sucked when we finally thought we had our answer in Cam Talbot. And then it was like a year, and it was like, oh no, he's not doing very good anymore. What's going on?
You know what though? Do you think in the NHL, and this is not a rip on Edmonton, this is a rip on the league. Don't you think we freaking throw in the towel really quickly on goalies? I mean, look at all the goalies that have been very good, that all of a sudden they'll just be like crap for a year and a half. And then all of a sudden, they'll get kicked to the curb and they'll show up somewhere. Like, look at Cam Talbotson, I thought he was really good in Calgary. And I think he's doing a really good in Edmonton or Minnesota now.
Yeah.
And, you look at some of around the league at some of these goalies and it's like, well, I don't know. I don't, maybe
I would say that depends a lot. I don't know if you listen to John Scott's podcast at all. But he was talking about like goaltenders being voodoo, and sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But just oh my god, I'm totally blank.
That's okay.
Is it about that you let Cam Talbot go? I mean, like, I'm not saying that Edmonton should have tried to like work on that longer, but
no,
the weird thing,
I didn't like the decision of Koskinen over Talbot, but that's another argument for another day. But like I understand the moving on from Talbot. Sorry,
do you like Koskinen? I mean, I'm not.
God, no.
I'm not trying to be a smartass. I'm just honestly asking that question because do some Oilers fans like him?
These other two do.
Year,
I think that he's a solid 1B to potential 1A goalie, but he is not a starter.
He's had a rough year.
Where he's performed when Mike Smith has been playing the way that he has, and they're able to rotate in who's caught. Great goaltending duo. Should he carry a team? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So he likes Mike Smith then?
I like any backup that's performing with him. Yeah.
The unfortunate thing is, I said this at the start of the year, was that I liked them bringing back Mike Smith because unfortunately, with where we were with the cap at the time after signing the Barry, the Puljujarvi, the Ennis, the Tourists, all these other guys, we didn't have cap space to do a whole lot. We at least knew what we were getting in Mike Smith. Losing Forsberg hurt him, but I have more faith, and I know it sounds weird. I had at that time more faith in Mike Smith as an Oiler than I did in Mikko Koskinen. And it was a personal thing for me. It was a big eye test thing. And I just don't love the fact that the best thing about Mikko Koskinen is that he's physically big. Like, at least Mike Smith's got some athleticism and he can dish the puck. Maybe sometimes not always to the best spots. I'm sure you know. But
oh my God,
he's actually been really good like this year.
When he is rolling with that, and it's a penalty kill, and the puck is dumped in, and he gets the puck, and it's out in their end. Little things like that, though. And I think it's a psychology of what he does to the guys in the room as well. But I watch Mikko Koskinen, and at no point have I ever felt comfortable with him in the net. Like, I've just never been on a 2-on-1 or anything. Like, oh yeah, we're all right. We got Mikko. It's like, at least Smith, even right now when he's hot, guys come down. I'm like, Smitty's got this one. Because he's playing hot right now, you're comfortable. But if he can keep it rolling, sweet. I don't know if he can.
I would say for future, though, I was kind of more down on it, but I think Konolov is actually going to be a decent prospect for us. I know he's another KHL goalie, of course, but I mean, the year we drafted him, we put up a .930 save percent and had a 25-15 record. This year, he's at a .923 and a .972.
What do you do next year?
Well, I agree. We have an interim goaltending problem, but I would say in 4 or 5 years, there's a potential solution.
I'm just starting to look at this Oilers team, and I'm looking at the standings now, and I'm like, all right, well, you guys are right up there, and you guys are playing good hockey, and I mean, you're getting fairly good goaltending, I think, this year, but there's times where, I mean, is anybody in this fan base like, yeah, we're on tonight, Smith's in net, we're good? No. But
I mean,
what if you had
certain nights, honestly, yes. But I think so. Here's the tough thing.
That's the problem with Smith, though. He can be the best goalie in the league, and in the next night, he is the freaking nightmare of all nightmares.
Yeah.
And that's what I hated him in Calgary. He would trick me. He would trick me. I don't know how many times, and being like, "It's for real."
It looks differently this year, though. He's doing things different. Like his rebound control is different. He's not as manic and flailing in the net. He's more under control and on balance when he's getting in front of things. He's doing it differently than he was last year, and maybe that's part of it.
I honestly,
right now, I am as crazy as that sounds. For the rest of the season, Mike Smith is my guy. He's my ride or die for the rest of the year.
So
I have to.
I honestly, in the summer, I think you might bring Mike Smith back. I honestly think you might.
It depends. It depends who's available. Like if Tuukka Rask is there and we get him at a reasonable price and Koskinen's contract isn't here, yeah, I'd bring Mike Smith back as a backup, sure. But that's a lot of dominoes that need to fall first in that instance.
I think every time you're signing Smith, it's as a backup position. You're never signing him as a starter.
But who are you going to have as your starter then?
Well, I think we still have
Well,
another
again,
year
like
of
that's our
Miko, don't
issue.
we?
We're in a spot where we're interning goalies and having to have a rotating duo.
Let me ask you this, Brad. Do you have any ideas? Please tell me anything.
But I'm looking at this team, right? And I always look at teams and it's like, okay, are we going to win with this guy? And for years, like I in Calgary, I mean, we did this same freaking dance that you guys are doing with goaltenders. I mean, it's like, oh, bring Smith in this year. It's like, oh shit, well, let's bring Talbot. Let's give him a kick at the can. And and then we pull Rittich, and it's like, well, let him kick at the can. We did the same dance, and it never worked. And finally, we were just like, all right, we just need to go get a guy. And I always look at teams, and I'm like, well, are they going to win with that goalie? And I proved myself wrong before too. I look at like St. Louis, for example. It's like, well, are they going to win with Jordan Binnington? No, they're not going to win, but they did. So I mean, there's no exact science to this, but I look at Mike Smith and I'm like, I don't think you're going to win a Stanley Cup with him.
Yeah, I didn't think Khudobin would take Dallas to the
chance,
Cup final,
but maybe he's going to have to play hot throughout the whole playoffs.
But he could. I mean,
yeah.
Again,
I agree with you. It's a coin flip. Like, we're not in that position where we have a number one goaltender.
Yeah.
I'll put it like this. Mike Smith right now is the closest thing the Oilers have to number one goaltender, and he is on the guys that the Oilers have available to them, the guy I have the most faith in winning the Stanley Cup right now, and that's all I can ask for right now. I'm not going to put too much weight into next summer because I don't know who's going to be available, and I think that, you know what? I think Mike Smith is a guy this year. He's got a .930 save percentage. He's like 10-2, and until he really slips up, I don't know how we can fault him this year, really.
Well, thanks to my conversation tonight, he'll probably pitch a shutout tomorrow now. So
I think the tough thing too, when you sign
almost
Mikko
guarantee
Koskinen for a midterm at 4.5, now every summer we come up of, okay, Mikko's not our number one. He's not good enough to be a bona fide number one. So do you bring in a cheap guy and try and ride this duo, or do you open the bank, bring in a guy like Markstrom, bring in a guy like Murray, whoever's available, but now you're paying not only $20-some million or just under $20 million to McDavid and Draisaitl, you're also paying $11 million to your goalie duo.
The day you sign Koskinen, you screwed your goaltending situation.
Exactly. So we've got one more year, and I think Mikko's a capable goaltender when he's on, and I think the thing that I like about our duo,
$2 million,
for sure. But I mean, shit, Chiarelli paid him like a low-level starter, and it's like, fuck, man. I think he had played like 32 games in the NHL at that point. But I mean, that's the issue, right? Like that's the situation we're in, and I think the thing I like about our goalie duo is Mike Smith has higher highs and lower lows. And Mikko, fuck man, he's got some low lows too, but he's a little bit more consistent. I feel like his decent stretches are longer, but I mean, shit, ride the hot hand at this point.
Yeah. The biggest name, I kind of just like took a quick glance at some of the goalie names that are coming up for this upcoming year while we're on the topic. And I mean, this kind of one list I found, which was Drive for 5 blog. In their order, I'll just rattle it off quick. Tuukka Rask, Freddie Anderson, Jordan Binnington, Antti Ranta, Peter Mrazek, Philip Grubauer, James Reimer, David Rittich, Jaro Halak, and Pekka Rinne. Of those names, the one thing I'll say is Antti Ranta is the only one there, and Tuukka Rask, I guess, are the only two guys there that I look at and would be like, yeah, I would be happy bringing him in for a year.
Oh, there's one other one that I would.
Freddie Anderson, dude. I'd fuck with Freddie Anderson.
Anderson to be if you guys got him, I wouldn't like it.
My assumption is that Binnington and Anderson aren't making it to free agency. So I should have prefaced that.
Have you seen Toronto's?
Who's the other guy, Brad?
Their fan base is trying to run them out of town. I don't understand it at all.
I do like Freddie Anderson. I think he's a really solid goalie. I'd happily have him or Binnington on my team. But outside that top four,
I would not take Binnington for freaking. I wouldn't take Binnington to say anything.
Who's the other guy that you had on your list, Brad?
On my list?
Or like out of that list, who else did you like? Didn't you say there was one other guy?
You're gonna laugh. I don't know why. I've always said it. Halak is always a guy that I'm like, that guy's safe. That guy's safe. He's just safe. He's
safe.
Is he
in Boston right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, though,
Mask,
he's like
yeah.
a perfect backup goaltender. I mean, potential rotating.
But you put
but
him with Koskinen, you could afford both those two. That's the way I'm looking at
yeah,
it.
fair.
You
I
can't
mean,
afford to bring in one of the $6 million guys. You can only afford a Halak. And if you had a Halak Koskinen, I don't see a big problem there.
Trust me, that was the issue this offseason with your goalie, right? Like he was going to sign here potentially, but we didn't have the cap room for him.
Yeah,
you want $1 million more to come here.
I think Ken Holland's going to try to get rid of Koskinen however he can, mostly because like the contract's brutal. He got rid of Lucic, so he can do anything as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but he got a deal.
But the thing is,
he just has to bring someone back this offseason if it's going to happen. But yeah,
call up Vancouver.
He's
Maybe
just got to find someone.
Louis Eriksson and somebody. Maybe you could get Eriksson and Holtby.
My fear of trading any goalie is that he's just going to like go off. After Devin Dubnyk, I'm like, Mikko fucking is going to go to like Vancouver and win the Vezina.
Yeah, but we traded Dubnyk when he was like 26 and Mikko's like 32 or 33. Like,
yeah, I'm just joking, but
Mikko sucks.
I don't think Mikko sucks.
I remember my
John Scott point. Yeah, what's that, Kyle?
So on John Scott's podcast, he was talking about Galchenyuk was who the topic was based around. Okay, and it was about how players who make an impression their first year or two into the league get to stay around for 6-7 years, even if they aren't performing for those last few.
Yep.
If you shit the bed your first year, you're out. Your first couple games, you're out. So that was kind of what I was going to relate to goaltending. Like even nowadays, like we still see like there's goalies like Dell and Jones and Murray, and of course they're not playing maybe on the best teams, but those are goalies that put up fantastic numbers and still fell off, right? Like that's where I'm with John, right? Like I'm scared trading for any goalie. I mean, Edmonton especially, like although our defense is looking better now than what it did 5 years ago, like we've had decent goalies play here and get chased out of town. So I'm worried about that happening again.
I wanted in Calgary this year, we needed a goalie. Like we needed to solve that problem. And my two on my list that I wanted was Kemper or Markstrom. Mm-hmm. And those are the only two that I felt like you could give $6 million plus, and I felt safe. Those are the only two.
Yeah. Because I mean, realistically,
I think there's 5 to maybe 10 guys in the league that you feel that way about. Like every offseason, there's maybe 1 or 2 that pop up.
You know, you look at a contract like Price. You know, is Carey Price a good goalie? Yeah, but
for $10.5 million, though.
Think about that. Like, just think about what that does to your team, though. Like, that hog ties you so bad.
That was such an albatross when he signed that, but it's like at the time too, didn't he just win his that was the Hart Trophy year and the Vezina, and it's like, you know what? It's hard to not pay that guy. I mean,
if any goalie deserves that money, it's him, not Bobrovsky. Like, no question.
I was just gonna say, remember when Bobrovsky went to Florida and everyone was like, "Oh man, they might be contenders there," and this year he's bounced back, but I think he's still only playing like half the games. You're paying a guy like $9.5 million or whatever it is to be a 1A goalie.
Yeah,
that scares me, man.
He's playing like a 1B right now.
I don't he's think, not a 1A. He's a 1B. I agree.
I don't think there's a goalie in the league
performing well too, right? Like, yeah.
I don't think there's a goalie in the league that I pay more than $7 million.
Neither.
Vasilevsky would be the only one that I can say.
And honestly,
you go more than 7.
Vasilevsky,
like close, like 7.5 type shit. Like,
but here's the thing, right? Give me one sec, Topko. Vasilevsky, where has he played his whole career? Behind a really good Tampa team.
Yeah, but he's made some outstanding saves.
But so did Bobrovsky. Like Bobrovsky made insane saves throughout the.
He did it in Columbus. He's not doing it in Florida as a difference. Like he's shitting the bed behind a good team.
I'm not discrediting your point. Like I'm a big Vasilevsky fan myself. I think he's a deadly goalie. I still like if he hit the market right now. Fuck, I don't know if I pay that guy $8 million. I don't think I want Edmonton to do it. I'm just like that scares me.
You guys would have to play with like 16 players if you signed them for that much.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much, especially us. That's like $40 million.
That's the thing.
Up in like
in reality now, like, I don't know, general managers. I mean, the cap being stale now for the next 4 years is just literally going to tie their hands where they're not going to be able to give these dumb contracts because you're not going to be able to field a freaking roster.
It's going to be a lot of
we thought that. There were still contracts that went out this offseason, though.
Yeah.
Not many, though. Yeah, I agree, though. There was, yes.
There was also a lot of guys that were, like, signing PTOs and getting 1-year deals that were, like...
Me and John, before Dobko was on the podcast here, like, we talked a bunch about how we thought a lot of teams were going to take deals, players were going to take deals with teams like Taylor Hall did. Take 1 to maybe 3-year deals on a lower number during this COVID era, and when the cap potentially can boom up again in 3 years, when there's money revenue coming back in the league, then you take your big boy contract.
Hey, I'm not saying that this guy is the answer for our goaltending, but let's give a little prospect shout out for in the last 6 starts. Stuart Skinner is 6-0-0, 1 goals against with a .961 save percentage. Just straight on fire.
I think that's
somebody who we were like saying is done from the league pretty much, right? Like,
so I think question answered. Next argument.
Let's talk about the Battle of Alberta then.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot to end it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm expecting a fucking fierce game with Sutter behind the bench. I say this every time, but I think we're finally gonna see some shit pop off.
There was finally a bit of emotion in the last game too. So
goalie fight, goalie fight, goalie fight.
I don't want that. I don't want a goalie fight
because we're gonna have Smith in there, buddy.
Yeah, Smith would freaking destroy Smith's
a nut job, man.
Talbot only fought because he had to. Smith was ready.
I don't know, you guys. I don't know. Every time I think the shit's gonna go down, it doesn't. So I'm gonna vote that it doesn't go down tomorrow night. But I hope to hell it does. I think Calgary plays. I think it sounds crazy. The more shit that goes down favors Calgary.
I don't think you're wrong there.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious. I honestly believe that the more shit that goes down, it favors Calgary.
Well,
how do you think Calgary...
if Zach Kassian comes back and he's been skating with the guys, that could really...
I hope he does. Because any ice time that you guys have him out there helps us.
I just hope it's 2019 Zach Kassian and not 2020 or 2021 Zach Kassian.
You guys, when you signed that contract, John, I laughed. Like, me and you were... that was very dumb.
Yeah. I was not a fan of the contract. Neither was Kyle. I mean, and I'm a Zach Kassian fan. I'm not trying to dog on the guy. Like, I like Zach Kassian, but that's a lot of money.
If he's not performing under McDavid because McDavid's feeding him fucking pucks, then he's a third-line winger, and he better perform for that money there. He's worth it for the money if he's performing, but
you don't want him with McDavid, you guys. You don't.
I mean, I want a better option.
Pugliarvi's filled that gap, but just saying, when we signed him, he was the solution there at the time, right? So it did make sense.
But you guys didn't have the foresight to be able to be like, we've got to be better on the first top 6 than Zach Kassian. So let's.
There was,
you know what I mean?
there,
especially when you sign a 4-year
I don't think it was
deal.
expected in like how tight our cap was, as you've already commented on.
Acting
right?
like he's on.
I don't think he's on the worst contract.
Acting like he's making like $9 million a year. He makes like 3.2.
No, he's overpaid by like $1 million. Like, it's not that bad. But I mean, like, we also didn't see that Pugliarvi was coming in and going to perform like he did.
So
right? Like,
I was scared.
We didn't have the money to go chase a top 6 right winger. We had other gaps.
One of us did. One of us thought Pugliarvi was going to do that.
Yeah,
I did not like it when I heard Pugliarvi was coming back.
You didn't like it from the Flames perspective or for the Oilers?
No, from a Flames perspective, I was like, crap, another big body that can skate. Damn it, I don't want that.
He's actually like, it's insane how big he is. He's a fucking
good. I don't know why you guys ran him out of town in the first place. I mean, like, you guys pushed him in the beginning.
Yeah. Improper coaching and general management.
Freaking shitty management is what that was.
That's the Oilers. Like, I don't know what's wrong with this kid. Send it back. Like,
Peter Chiarelli making questionable decisions? What?
Prospect management was shit. I mean, like, that guy is talented.
So was our pro management, man. We traded Jordan Eberle for Jordan fucking Spooner.
I mean, I think it's conspiracy theory to say it too. But we talked about Koskinen's contract, he has the exact same agent as Puljujarvi did. I kind of think that contract was a goodwill contract given in order to get Puljujarvi back.
That was kind of the rumor at the time as well, yeah. I mean,
I remember I commented on it on our podcast.
Puljujarvi and Yamamoto are, man, that right side, I'm so much more confident than I was, 18 months ago.
It's night and day difference, you guys. It's night and day difference.
It really is.
Look at your guys' depth from
less than 2 years.
From one
line too.
And then go 2 seasons back, look at your roster. It's like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I mean, you're starting to see in like our bottom 6, the problem is we don't really have any like high skill guys. Like we don't have a scoring third line, but Kara is finally really starting to look good. He's had a good like 12, 15 game stretch here as our third line center. Gaetan Haas is looking really good as our fourth line center, and guys are filling in around them like Ennis, and then you've got Chase on and Neil on the fourth line. But I mean, could our depth be better? Sure, but the Oilers are seeing some depth that they haven't seen in a long time here too.
Yeah,
can I ask you, would you go through a decade of what we went through rather than being like a middling team that makes the playoffs and goes out every first round or potential second?
You guys are going to be so mad at this comment. That's okay.
I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm actually asking.
No, I wouldn't have. Well, yeah, I would have liked the first round picks, but I wouldn't want to be in your situation having all those first round picks and still being shitty. I mean, you guys, there's freaking changed rules because of you guys. I mean, the draft process is they want to change fucking rules because you guys screwed it up so bad. Like,
because we're too good at winning the draft lottery. They're jealous. Yes, we know.
But you know what I'm saying though? Like, as a fan though, wasn't that just like, didn't you just want to like pull your hair out?
It was
like,
awful. It was straight
up awful. It was literally like,
oh,
hey, I'll watch the games through October and half of November and then fucking give up. Like,
as much as being muddle middle like we've been for so long.
Do you know what it's like to be middle of November year after year looking at draft picks? Because that's shitty.
Yeah, I mean, at least, I mean, not that it's been a barrel of laughs getting fucking shelled in the first round of the playoffs, but I mean, like, I don't know. At least I cared about a game in February. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, at least
I had a lot more free time on my hands, which was kind of nice. There's that.
The one nice thing was you could get tickets for nothing.
A couple weeks ago, so
yeah.
That was the one really good thing was you could get tickets for nothing, and then go to a game, be severely disappointed, and have it ruin your night for pretty much free. So that was one good thing. But straight up, Kyle, I'm going to jump in on your question here. I am not a big fan of Brad at all. I don't think he's a good dude. I wouldn't wish that decade on my worst enemy, though. So I like Brad's answer. Just kidding, Brad.
You know, it's like you look at Buffalo right now, and it's like, you know, as frustrated as I am in Calgary, I'd be fucking losing my mind if I had Eichel and all these guys and we still weren't winning.
All their fans are on legitimate suicide watch.
Like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and I mean,
who was the kid who just got declared exceptional status for the WHL? Because that poor kid's going to be by Buffalo in about 3 years. Because at this rate, they might as well be.
Do you guys kind of have a soft spot for Buffalo? Like I
do for sure.
I've went to a couple of games in Buffalo and like I like Buffalo. And
when McDavid and Eichel went there, like I thought that was the turning point for both franchises. And like obviously we got the better player that deal. Even then I thought that, of course, but like I thought that was going to be a real turning point for that team.
Like I don't want the Rangers to be good. I want the Buffalo Sabres to be good. Like I kind of scarily cheer for that market, probably because they just get kicked in the face all the time.
I think the Rangers are going to be really good, and I
gotta love the losers.
Yeah.
I do not have faith that Buffalo is going to turn this around. I think they're going to end up rebuilding again, and they'll lose.
Their entire team.
I was thinking about this. Yeah. I was thinking about this morning. Isn't it funny how like 2 weeks can change everything? Like, think about this. A month ago, Vancouver was going to burn their city down. Freaking 2 weeks ago, Calgary was like ready to just throw in the towel and just freaking quit the league. And now Columbus and Buffalo are the talk of the shittiness. Like, who's freaking next? Like, who's going to drop 4 this week and be the
I don't know who it's going to be, but I love to kick back here and watch John Tortorella claim he hates to bench these players while benching a different guy every night, because it is just hysterical to watch him run dudes out of town every week. Oh, I love
We just traded for a star left winger. Let's bench him on his third game. Like,
Oiler fans, let's not get too excited, but hear me out. Jesse Puljujarvi, Connor McDavid, Patrick Laine.
Oh my God, that would be terrifying.
No, not a fucking chance, but let me dream. Let me have this one,
like,
Brad.
That'd be like us saying, well, Eichel's going to fill our top center role.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, if Buffalo trades him, that wouldn't be a bad landing spot.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. I want to get an Oilers perspective on a Flames question that's been bouncing around social media here for the last week that I've always kind of pushed to the side and never addressed it. Would you trade Mtl Cgy and a prospect or a pick or whatever for Jack Eichel?
Yes.
So would I.
Yeah.
100%.
There's nobody on our
Pretty
team right now.
quickly.
There's nobody on Calgary's right now. If I was Calgary's general manager,
you just talked about your need for a first line center.
There's nobody that I would protect besides Markstrom for Eichel.
Unless you have a true franchise player. And no offense to Calgary, I think you guys have some really, really good players, but I don't think you have a true franchise player.
Huh.
Unless you have one of those, if you're looking at acquiring one that's under the age of 25, no one is off the table.
So if you're an Oilers fan, right, which all you guys are, and we got rid of Tkachuk, but we're bringing in Eichel, would you be happy or scared?
Scared? Are you kidding me? Yeah. A 6'5" number one center who's skilled?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be happy I don't have to deal with that rat.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I agree with that. But honestly, I like the rivalry with Mtl Cgy. I think he's a total piece of shit.
He does get the games going. That game, that Battle of Alberta would have never happened without him.
No. Wouldn't you love to watch him suffer in Buffalo, though?
That I would like that, actually. I would like that very much.
Yeah, it would be good payback. Let him sign a long-term deal in Calgary, then make the trade so he's stuck there.
Yeah. Can you still do 13-year deals in the NHL, then trade him there? No trade clause, just locked in. Let's reset the right here again.
You guys, if Tkachuk was headed your guys' way, you'd be loving it.
I'd buy his jersey.
Of course, dude, for sure. In a heartbeat.
I know.
I'd still be critical of some of the dumb shit he does, though.
Some fan bases wouldn't do that.
I mean, yeah, I would still be frustrated as a Flames fan.
Would never do that.
As a Flames fan, I would still be frustrated with some things he has done.
I'm in the exact same boat, Kyle. Like, I think there's no doubting that he's a really good player, but I think you've got to draw the line even at certain points when he's on your team. And I think, Brad, you've done that.
Which his teammates even have done. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure, Brad, you've done that as well, where, like, Tkachuk does some foolish shit. Like, what did you think when he had the puck flipped at him? And then he goes fucking crazy. And
I think he should have two-handed Muzzin across the neck.
I would have preferred if he fucking actually took a two-hand shot to his knee or something.
Here's the reason I say that. Well, first of all, I'm sick and tired of this thing, and I want to go on. If I found out who in Calgary's locker room wants him to calm down, everybody in Calgary wants them traded tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, and you would in Edmonton too.
So why is that?
If somebody told Cassian that Cassian can't be Cassian, or if someone told, that's just, you just can't do that. Second thing, if that happened in a beer league game, I got a feeling there might be a fight because of that. Was it a small little thing? Yeah, I'm not overblowing it. But you know what? I know there's beer league games that would have resulted in a fight. I know there is.
There's no doubt that it was disrespectful by Muzzin. Like, he was blatantly being a dick. Now, as an Oilers fan, I found it fucking hilarious.
Sure,
but
I hope
I'm not. I can take the blinders off and be like, yeah, if somebody did that to McDavid after, I'd be like, yo, Cassian, go beat the shit out of that guy.
Exactly.
I would give an argument back about Cassian too when he pushed off. I forget what team it was with his skate. He pushed away a player last season.
Yeah,
Edmonton fans did not accept that at all. Like, they did not support him because he did that.
The reason Jake Muzzin flips that puck at Matt Tkachuk is because nobody has any respect for him, because everyone knows he's too much of a pussy turtle to really fight the big battles.
I would have respect for Tkachuk.
If you say he's had 7 fights, who's he fought? He fought like Ethan Bear and ran from Zach Kassian. So good for you, man.
He dropped the gloves with Kassian. What did you want him to do?
Because he had to, and I respected him for that. Honestly, I respected him for that. He had to.
Come on, you guys.
I respect him for that. I am not talking down about that, but
he did everything he needed to do in that situation. So are we?
Fuck off. He could have fought him the first game. He turtled 100%. There's a reason that there's memes about turtles.
But like running around like that. Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Okay. One at a time.
Yeah. So let me ask you this then. So tomorrow night, Lucic grabs Nugent Hopkins then.
I mean, what did Nuge do?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Also, is Nuge running around throwing his body at people? Like, and
here's the guy that does it.
Matt Tkachuk is basically this era's Sean Avery.
So, no, come on.
100%.
Come on.
100%.
So how is he not? He runs around like a piece of shit, and then when the fight comes to him, he turtles and runs away. That's exactly what Sean Avery did, and that's exactly what Matt Tkachuk does.
Okay, I was going to say Sean Avery's name like 5 minutes ago, too.
You got 2 dickheads on your team in Archibald and Jason.
Archibald aren't near as bad as Matt Tkachuk.
Archibald.
Okay.
Archibald?
Okay. Chason is always watching him. He's
is
always
he even on the ice fucking 6 minutes a game? Like,
sorry, Kyle. Jesus.
Zach Kassian is the only argument point you really have as a counterpoint, and he runs around like a psychopath.
Yeah, but at least he stands up. He throws his gloves down. That's the difference. Is fucking Tkachuk does shit and is a bitch about it.
Okay.
And everybody knows it. That's why he gets the puck flip, because it knows he's not going to do shit. He's going to throw sticks in the fucking hallway and punch the wall like a
What's he going to do? Slap me to death? Oh, no.
Christ,
you're going to come fight Muzzin, who's fucking 6 inches taller than you and got 50 pounds in you? You're a fucking pussy. Fuck you.
Jesus Christ. I've been trying to jump in here. Take a step. Okay. When it comes to the Oilers, you have Kassian, who has a fucking definite questionable background. You have... Honestly, the next person I'm going to throw in there is Yamamoto, because he's a fucking dickhead to play against. Anybody that watches behind the scenes, you can see Yamamoto's a prick to play against. Brad, my point before you 2 animals just decided to tear in. God damn it.
Well, it's not even you guys.
No,
I love you, Brad. I love you.
Supposed to do? I mean, what do you guys want him to do?
Here's the thing with Tkachuk. Yes, he fought Kassian. But he also spent 60 minutes before running around and doing everything in his power to not fight Kassian. When the
took the Oilers off their game and the Flames beat the Oilers, right?
For sure.
I don't disagree that what Tkachuk does is an important part of the game, and he does it well. Like, he is an agitator to the extreme, and I don't think that his game, like you said, like, we'd be happy to have him on our team. I'd buy his jersey in a fucking second.
And that's why I said, if it gets into a shit show, it benefits us, because we completely took you off your game. And that's all you guys were worried about is Matthew Tkachuk, and we put the puck in the net and won.
And him doing the turtle and stuff is part of his game too, because it pisses off the team more. I get that, but it's just
one game.
It's the respect. Yeah.
For one game, great. You can win the battle. I'll win the war.
And like, I mean, getting back to the original point here.
What are we battling each other for? We're both
I'm just saying, like, that shit,
Alberta, bro.
That shit. Okay, great. You win one game in the regular season, but when that shit comes around to playoff time, Matthew Tkachuk's gonna run around like a dickhead.
We haven't seen you guys in the playoffs. I don't know. We've been waiting to play you in the playoffs, but you guys haven't been making it.
Well, the last time we were in, we got booted in the second round.
I mean,
we would have strung together some wins.
COVID. Yeah.
Getting back to the whole Muzzin thing. I think the reason you're starting to see shit like that happen around the league, though, is because of the way Tkachuk handles himself. Like, that is getting around the league. He's starting to get the Brad Marchand treatment. And you're right, Brad. That can be effective. Because you're right. They did win the Battle of Alberta. Pretty much solely because of what Tkachuk was doing.
I feel like you can compare Marchand and Tkachuk to an extent. But I have yet to see Tkachuk submarine guys. I've yet to see Tkachuk. And what has he done suspendable?
Oh,
I
shit.
had to look
I'd have
back
to go
at,
back.
at it. I honestly don't follow him close
I
enough.
want
I'd
you to
have
look. I
back.
want you to look. But everybody says that Tkachuk is this thing, and he's find me something suspendable. The Doughty elbow, that's suspendable.
I mean,
Yeah, I'd
he's
say the back
definitely...
elbow. I'd say that honestly, that hit on Cassian, like we're biased,
No.
but I'd say that's even
That is
questionable.
not suspendable.
That's not suspendable, but it's
Not
nice to know
suspendable,
that
but
you're
I would
gonna green
argue
light
it's
that.
like that's a Rafi Torres-esque hit that it has a challenge at being. Like he just doesn't have the backing to have it with. Like that's for sure a dangerous hit that has a question.
And he had to
of being
answer the bell for it.
Yeah.
Answer the bell. He got fucking thrown around without wanting to. But like,
No, he fought Cassian.
I agree with you. I don't think he's necessarily done anything that's.
He hasn't done
worthy.
anything.
But
So why
honestly,
is he compared to Marchand?
He does the same like Dopko said, the same Avery shit. He's fucking pulling at people's balls with his stick when he's leaving off the bench and frustrating teams as they're leaving the ice. And I understand that's his game, and I like it too. But like, understand that there's a backside to that as well, and it's disrespect to the league. Like nobody liked Avery. You think people like Tkachuk when he's on his team? And starting to see the Flames and what they've said in the locker room and the issues inside the locker room. I mean, nobody liked Avery on his team too. Is Tkachuk having the same issue there?
Like,
I think Tkachuk can mature because he's got the skill is the thing.
But I don't think he
Tkachuk
has
and
enough.
Avery are far different players.
Oh, well, I mean, for sure. Like, Tkachuk
for sure, but
for
it's
sure the superior
it's
hockey player.
The response
and
and
I wouldn't say they're far different players. They're
well,
different.
I mean, they are in the
players.
aspect that Tkachuk is substantially more talented.
Substantial.
Jesus, Topko. There's like, let's state a fact here. Like
that's like comparing freaking McDavid to like
careful,
the
but
third
he's just
liner on
busting your balls,
Carolina
Brad.
because he's fast.
Jesus Christ. I don't know. I mean,
Dylan Larkin.
I think there's some things.
No. Okay, Mtl is certainly a more skilled hockey player than Sean Avery. But when it comes to the way that they play that aspect of the game, the dirty, get in your face, fuck with people's side, they're the exact same player. They do it disrespectfully, and then they don't stand up and fight for themselves or for their teammates. Really, they'll cower, they'll hide, they'll run, they'll do it the most disrespectful, cheap way you can, and you know it kind of works. But Sean Avery wasn't like that. Didn't exactly last long and didn't exactly work, and that was because he wasn't as skilled as Tkachuk. You're right.
Who has Matthew Tkachuk been called out to fight that he hasn't fought?
Did he fight Drew Doughty?
Drew Doughty never wanted to fight him. Yeah, they did fight.
Yeah,
once,
he
I
did.
think.
Again, he fought him like 3 games later.
And then he had to fight a guy 3 weight classes bigger than him because of the Doughty hit, and he did it.
Because he was acting like a fucking idiot. Because he deserved to fight him.
But that's the point that you keep saying he doesn't answer the bell. Name me a fight that he's picked that he hasn't fought.
He doesn't answer the bell in that game. He waits 2 to 3 games later when it suits him better, and he's not in the moment because he knows he's not going to get ragdolled and get his teeth knocked into his fucking throat.
Aggravate someone and knows that they'll murder him when he fucking lays out what he does.
A
and
pissed
then waits
off
for them
Drew,
to be off how pissed off they are. Like,
a pissed off, hopped up Drew Doughty versus a kind of subdued Drew Doughty like 2 weeks later is a big difference.
and he still told your fans to suck his dick.
I just like I honestly love the way that style of game is played. Ryan Kessler is a piece of shit, but I love Ryan Kessler's hockey.
See, no,
and
but straight up,
I
think I'm calling bullshit there because there's a lot of similarities between Tkachuk and Kessler. Now, I don't really like either of those fucking guys, but I think there is a lot of similarities.
I don't think there's as many similarities
Kessler
there. I
was
think
a
there's
huge
more
bastard
similarities
still
between
fought, and-
Tkachuk and Avery than there is between Tkachuk and Kessler.
I
would
don't
say
think
Tkachuk and
that's
Perry,
true.
who he's also named as like his favorite player. Like Perry was a very skilled winger.
For sure.
Different style of player, maybe, but also that aggravator, right? Like Perry's still talented. I mean, even to this day, like he's still on a bubble player and he's 40. Like Tkachuk's not a bad player. That's not the argument. Like it's just his standing up to the bell and like who he even has fought. Like fucking
Everybody's these foughts
9
been
fights.
out
4
of his
of them
weight
have been
class,
fucking
too.
weaklings. Like
What?
Because if
Hell,
he's going to
maybe
act
one
like the
guy
goon, he
smaller
should
than
fight
he's-
the goon.
Let me just bring facts into this. Who has Matthew Tkachuk fought? Just literally gonna look it up.
Matthew Dumba, Brooks Orpik, Zach Casting, Ethan Bear, JT Miller, Jeremy Lozon, Blake Wheeler, Corey Perry, Ben Sherrod, and
dude, straight up, there's just some tough fucking dudes he's fought.
Yeah, he fought all the tough guys. He fucking laid out Wheeler, who's 2 inches bigger and 80 pounds heavier. I don't know what you guys like.
The two tough guys he hasn't two guys that aren't really tough.
You want to know why Tkachuk didn't fight Cassian? Why should he? Why should he? Why should he take a? Why should he go
himself all over the fucking ice?
Hey, wait a minute. Why should he go sit in the penalty box when he can score a goal and take numbskull with him that doesn't do anything? Think about that, Kyle. That would be like Cassian. That'd be like McDavid and freaking fighting Lucic. Oh, it took Lucic off the ice. That's a smart move.
I don't disagree.
Exactly
with you.
the same.
Yeah.
No, but I don't like seriously, guys. You got to get that point. I don't disagree. Like, I think Matthew Tkachuk's a piece of shit. I mean, is this game?
I agree with what he does. I understand him doing it, and it pisses off our team more with him turtling away. I understand his game. It doesn't change that he's a fucking bitch for doing it.
But
well, you know what? Kind of like if you're going to get blamed for like cheating on your wife, you might as well go cheat on her. You might I hope tomorrow night, since Edmonton thinks he's the dirtiest player in the world, I hope he just freaking drills somebody from behind or something.
Oh, don't say that. Don't go there.
He gets blamed by the league for all this dirty stuff. But when I question somebody and say, well, name me a suspendable play, nobody can do it. I say, well, name me a guy that he's fought that's under his weight class. Nobody can do that either. Like, I just don't understand.
You bring up a good point with the suspendable plays. Now, my counterpoint to that, though, is you can have dirty plays that aren't suspendable. Oh, yeah. Yamamoto blatantly slew-footed someone last week. That's a dirty play. You're never going to get a suspension for it.
No, but now tomorrow night, if Tkachuk gave Yamamoto a big shot in the face, Edmonton fans can't say anything.
I mean, we'll say something, but it's not suspendable, sure. But that's the thing. He's constantly going around doing little fucking cheeky shit. And hey, straight up, Brad, I'm not trying to dog on him either. Because you know what? I agree with you. It's effective.
Well,
I think it's also dangerous. And I honestly, somebody is going to hurt Tkachuk someday. Like something is going to happen and he's going to get a serious injury because of the way he plays. I'm not saying it's right. I just think it's going to happen.
No, you guys, he has not played that way this year at all.
I mean,
as a matter of fact,
I've only seen 4 or 5 games.
Slightly ineffective this year.
Maybe that's why he's been ineffective, is he hasn't played that chippy style. He kind of needs to. And like,
probably.
Hey, we touched on it at the start of Daryl Sutter coming in. Matt Tkachuk could be the guy who benefits the most from Daryl Sutter coming in. So
he hasn't so far. He's been no-show the last 2 games, but I agree he might. I just.
Well, does Daryl Sutter even coach a game for you yet? He's still on COVID.
No, he started this week, didn't he?
He did? Okay. Oh, he did practice him.
Guys, I'm not a huge Matthew Tkachuk fan. I respect what he does and what he brings to the game. He walks the line, but I think every team wants a guy that walks the line. And does he step over it once in a while? Yeah, but he's also answered the bell for it too. I think he's a slightly overrated player. I think his name has helped him. I like his brother Brady a hell of a lot better. I think he's a bigger body, more scoring potential, a better skater.
That's a bold take from a Flames fan, and I like it.
I agree with everything Brad.
I like it.
I agree.
But the truth of the matter is, like, I don't know why the league has a hard on for Matthew Tkachuk when there's a lot of guys that are probably a hell of a lot more dirty. And I don't know. I don't know.
I think the one thing is he's that skilled pest, right? Which is kind of rare.
He that skilled?
Well, I mean,
Tkachuk's skilled.
Yeah.
And he's also kind of blatant about everything he does too.
He's a flashy guy that tries to score between his legs a lot. Like, I'd say he's a high skilled player. Now, is he a superstar?
But he rarely converts on them.
No,
that
for sure,
overtime winner that one time
tries.
was real nasty.
My
All those other
point is
failures.
that he has some hockey skill. Like, he's not a goon.
I'm not saying he's unskilled. I think he's actually, quite honestly, guys, I think he's the best tipper in front of the net in the league. But he's an average, not even an average. He's a below average skater. I mean, you guys, you know, I don't know.
What doesn't Tkachuk do, though? Like, is he a complete hockey player? What doesn't he do? What is he genuinely bad at other than skating?
He's, you know, he's not a strong skater. I don't know that his shot is elite. He's great in front of the net. He cares and he wants to win.
I mean, I think part of the reason why
Tkachuk to you is our casting. Like we've already compared it numerous times. When they're emotionally engaged in the game, it's a completely different game for the rest of the players in the ice, on both sides of the ice. And unless they're playing that style of game, they're somewhat ineffective.
Yeah. I think the reason he gets so much attention is because of the press.
And he brought it up. His last name is really a big reason he gets as much attention as he does.
Yeah.
And it's not like his dad didn't play a similar style, too.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Exactly.
I like the hot take of Brady, though. I'm with you. Brady Tkachuk.
I agreed 100% on
Brady Tkachuk, my boy Tim Stutzel. I love those two.
But hey, you guys, Keith Tkachuk was more of a Brady Tkachuk player than a Matthew Tkachuk player.
Yeah, but he still had some fucking run-ins.
Still was.
It's also it's a totally different era.
He was a power guy down low, though, that could just do anything.
It was a totally different era, though, too.
Yeah.
The glory days, straight up. Those are the best days of hockey, the 90s and early 2000s. Everything's fast and hitting and fighting is full tilt.
Growing up in that era, dude, like rose-tinted glasses looking back on it now.
I'm fucking stoked for the Battle of Alberta. I'll stick to my point. I think we're going to see some stuff finally pop off. Does any of you guys have anything else you'd like to add? We did run super long tonight, so we should probably cut her.
If it's half as heated as...
hate talking about Calgary.
If the Battle of Alberta is half as heated as this got, then it should be some couple really good games. So
I don't
even know if this was our most heated roundtable.
It's definitely when I was blackout and me and you were yelling at each other. That was probably
when we were drinking, though.
Yeah, this is their most heated sober one for sure. I was gonna say there was points today where I was like, "Fuck, Brad's not gonna come back with us. This is gonna be the last time we have him on."
I have Dobko with me this time. Like I tried to back off and let him just run a little bit.
I would like to see how you guys liked it if I had 3.
Hey, man,
let's go.
I tried to defend you a little bit there, Brad. I saw what was happening.
I was on his side for the first half, and then I kind of went on Dobko's side.
If you want to bring me onto the Calgary one and gang up on me, I'm more than happy to join you guys.
There you go. We'll send Dobko as
I always look at these rivalries as like, I mean, this goes back to our argument about the North Division. Like, this is what gets you excited to watch a hockey game, right? I mean, I try to speak the truth on what I believe, whether it's good or bad with Calgary, and I think you guys do with Edmonton. But I respect other fan bases, and I respect what they believe about their players, and I mean, I want these heated things. I think this is what isn't this why we watch sports, you guys? I mean, to have a little bit good fun banter going back and forth and to have a little bit of fun with it. I mean, this is why we watch sports, right?
Hell yeah.
Well, for sure.
And realistically with you too, Brad, like I know John said it a couple times today, like we always love having you on because you are like fuck a Flames fan. You're a realist fan for whatever fan base you're supporting. And it's always nice to talk to you and get your opinion on your team. And yes, we talk shit, but at the same time, like, you know, I want Calgary to be a good team just as much as I want Edmonton to. I want us to both have success and have a rivalry together. Although I want to stomp the shit out of you.
I think the better both of us are.
Exactly. You want competition to be
because when we both sucked, it was no fun. And when
I was at one game in the Saddle Dome where there was both Flames fans and Oilers fans that had paper bags over their head.
But I'll tell you a quick Edmonton Oilers story. This is
not even kidding, like 100%.
This is probably 14 years ago now. I went up for a Battle of Alberta in Edmonton, and I had seats about 15 rows up in the corner at the Rexall. I sat down, and I was smart. I didn't wear any Calgary shit. I think I had like a quarter zip with a little Calgary logo on it, like nothing stupid, you know. I did laugh though, because there was about 50 Calgary fans walking around the concourse chanting and with flags and stuff. And I thought it was cool because the Edmonton fans just pretty much left them alone. But I mean, it was banter back and forth. I ended up sitting next to 2 Oilers season ticket holders that were just two guys, and it was me and my buddy, and we ended up hanging out with them during the game, and Calgary ended up winning like 6-3. I'll throw that in there because it's probably the last time we won 6-3 in Edmonton. But we sat with these season ticket holders, and by the beginning of the second period, they were buying us beers and we were buying them beers, and we ended up going out in Edmonton that night with these guys. And it's like, that's what it's about though. Like when you watch sports, it's like rivalries are what get me excited to get through my day tomorrow so I can come watch this Battle of Alberta. But you want to be able to argue with your friends and your fellow, team fan bases, because that's what makes this go. That's what makes hockey in Canada go.
And even more than that, isn't that why we all do a podcast? Like, I don't think any of us got on here being like, no, I don't really like debating sports. I don't like when people disagree with my opinion, and I have to back it up.
I wasn't all that excited to come on this time though, after some of the last games we've had with you guys. So I'm just like, my only hope was like, shit, we got a new coach. Maybe things will be different tomorrow. I don't know.
It's one of those things too, where I actually hope it's really like, obviously I hope Edmonton wins both games, but whenever we do collab, it's like, man, I just hope it's not like 2 blowouts either way. I'd obviously much rather it be Edmonton, but then it's like, it kind of takes some of the fun away where it's like, oh, hey, Brad, like Calgary really sucked, hey? Yeah. Like
we had that last year, didn't we? We had that. We did 2 collabs where Calgary blew out Edmonton, and then you guys blew out us, and it was like, oh shit. And then we had all the good Kachuk Cassian ones where they were good games. But
at least it wasn't the year before where we 7-0'd you.
Yeah, was that the year before? The year before that, one of them. Yeah, that was a rough.
I think it was both years. Let's go with that. Yeah.
I had a Flames fan buddy that bet me $50 on the season series that year, and then he's never wanted to bet me on the season series ever again after they went 6-0. So that was like, shit, lost some money there, but some potential money. Anyways, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you very much for joining us, Brad.
Thank you guys.
For all the Oilers fans listening,
thank you, honestly, for coming. Yeah.
For all the Oilers fans listening, you can check out Brad at Flames Unfiltered wherever you get your podcast, as well as on social medias, Twitter, Facebook, the whole 9 yards. But yeah, thanks again, Brad, and have a great night, and looking forward to these Battle of Albertas.
Should be a lot of fun this week. We have 2 big ones.
Hell yeah. Looking forward to it.
I'll be shooting you a text or 2 talking shit. Don't worry.
All right. I'm looking forward to it, Kyle.
Inside Edge Hockey News. Dropping the gloves. And stirring the pot.
All right, Flames fans. Time for a little bit of Flames news. It's a very condensed version of Flames news in the division and listener question, as we had a long conversation with the boys from Oil Country Podcast. Thanks again for them joining the show and talking a little bit of Flames. Oilers. Sean Monahan becomes the first player in the 2013 draft to reach 200 goals. Quite the milestone for the center from Calgary. That list of players includes McKinnon, Horvat, Barkov, and Jones. That's a good list. Nordstrom still out with a lower body injury. He continues to be week to week. He got that blocking his shot. It'll be nice to have him back on our penalty killing, but it'll be real interesting to where he slots in to Daryl Sutter's lineup. If he does slot in to Daryl Sutter's lineup, we'll update you on that injury as we get more information. The Flames have had a fight in 4 of their last 5 games since Jeff Ward was fired. Does that tell you a little bit about the intensity level? Now, I'm not like a super rah-rah fight guy, but I do know that when players are engaged, there's a higher probability of fights happening. Well, we're engaged now, and look what's happening. Sometimes you got to fight for wins, right? Let's take a look at in the division here, the North Division, with the Flames and Canucks remembering how to win this week, and the Leafs struggling to find wins. The North Division tightened very quickly. As it stands at recording time, which is Tuesday evening, the Toronto Maple Leafs are atop, 4 points up on the Winnipeg Jets with 40 points. Winnipeg, with 2 games in hand, if they win both those 2 games, are going to be tied with the Toronto Maple Leafs because Winnipeg currently sits at 36 points. Edmonton, who's played 31 games, 3 more than Winnipeg, also sits at 36 points. And Montreal holds that final spot down just 2 points ahead of Calgary with 1 game in hand. and Montreal sits at 33 points. Now, the Calgary Flames have played 29 games now. With their 3-game winning streak, they have made their record 14-12-3 for 31 points, a record that's definitely looking better as the day goes by. Vancouver sits 1 point behind the Flames, but has played 3 more games than the Flames. Vancouver sits at 30 points. Ottawa, Calgary's biggest nemesis this year, sits at 22 points out of the playoff mix, but a team that is fighting scrappy every single night, a difficult team to play against. I like what Ottawa brings to the table, and I think they're going to give teams fits down the stretch. Let's roll on into the listener question, and this one comes from Brett Connor, Okotoks, Alberta. Rumors have the Washington Capitals interested in David Rittich. Do you think the Flames would ever trade David Rittich? I thought about this one, and I thought, well, what would the Flames get in return for David Rittich? What could the Flames afford to get back, although it would free up a little bit of cap space? Is, Louis Domingue a guy, an option for the playoffs? What if an injury happens? I feel pretty comfortable with a 1-2 punch of Markstrom Rittich. I think Rittich at 2.75 through the end of this year is pretty decent value. I don't doubt that they couldn't re-sign him at that next year for maybe a 2 more year deal, and maybe that would be a good option. Rittich currently has had 9 starts this year. He's 3-5-0, 2.93 goals against average, and 0.904 save percentage. Not off the charts. He hit a rough patch, but has also had a pretty strong patch in his last few outings. I would hate to see us trade him because I just don't think the return out there would be anything that we would be, I guess, excited for as Flames fans. I think he's a viable goalie. I think he's also proven to us that he's not a starter. We don't need a starter right now. We got Jacob Markstrom. But it seems like when Rittich was forced to start, he struggled a little bit in previous years, not so much this year. But when he's been able to step in relief in short term, he's very, very strong. And we saw that when Markstrom went down for a couple of games in the past couple of weeks. I think we count our blessings that we have Rittich and just roll with him. I don't think the return would be big enough to make a deal. Get all your Flames Unfiltered podcasts, team news, team updates, and highlights at flamesunfiltered.com. All right, Flames, let's roll through this week's games. Wednesday night, Edmonton back in town for game 2 of this 2-game set, Battle of Alberta. It will be the 6th game in a 10-game slate against the Oilers this year. Edmonton holds that series lead 3-2. Wednesday night, Calgary has a chance to tie that back up. Calgary won game 1 6-4. Edmonton 2-1 in game 2. Edmonton 7-1 in game 3. Edmonton 3-2 in game 4. Calgary wins on Monday night 4-3. And the Battle of Alberta is on this year, as it's been some pretty exciting games as of late. Then Calgary hits the road on a 4-game stint that'll see them Friday and Saturday night this week in Toronto, and Monday, Wednesday in Ottawa. This condensed schedule, it is busy. It is real busy. Please join Flames Unfiltered for another Hot Mic Game of the Week. March 17th, this Wednesday night, they take on Edmonton Oilers, and that is the next Hot Mic Game of the Week. What is a Hot Mic Game of the Week? Well, it's a watch party where you can join me, the host, in watching a Calgary Flames game together as a group. We'll talk Flames hockey. We'll complain. We'll bitch. We'll cheer. And we'll talk about that team we love so much in Calgary. It is fun. It is great fan interaction. It is good hockey talk. You can even win some real cool prizes. Check out social media for details on how to win those prizes and when to join us on a Hot Mic Game of the Week. Well, a busy, busy episode. A busy, busy week of Flames hockey. It'll continue. Let's keep this streak going. Let's get 2 more against Edmonton on Tuesday and gather as many points as we can get out in Toronto and in Ottawa. It'll be fun. It'll be intense. Let's keep this train going. Boy, is it fun to talk about winning streaks. Thanks to all our listeners. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Please check us out on YouTube at Inside Edge Hockey News. You can also check us out on Apple Podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe. Make sure you head on over to flamesunfiltered.com. That website is packed with all the episodes we've done here. Tons of Flame news, social media. It's got it all. Enjoy this week's action. Let's keep it going, Flames fans. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Get connected. Flames Unfiltered can be found on Twitter at Flame Unfiltered. And also make sure you check out our Facebook page at Flames Unfiltered. Check out host Brad Burud on Twitter at Brad Burud. And if you like what you hear, rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. You can find Flames Unfiltered on all the major podcast players. And consider subscribing to Inside Edge Hockey News on Patreon. That'll get you exclusive content and much more. Thanks again and enjoy the hockey action.
Play on! Yeah, baby! Play on! Yeah, baby!
Thanks for tuning in to Flames Unfiltered. Check back for more action-packed Calgary Flames talk. This has been a production of Inside Edge Hockey News Radio, copyrighted and distributed by the Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.